Page 68, God gave us music. Now on the previous pages, that is pages 66, 67, they're talking about intervals again. And they say melodic and harmonic intervals. Big fancy words. So what do they mean? Well, it's really not too bad. Keep in mind that a melody is a series of notes, one after another. That's melodic. Melody, melodic, get the picture. Harmony is when the notes sound, you can hear more than one note at a time. Usually because they're played at the same time, not always, but you hear them. So harmony is that, so harmonic means together, you play them at the same time. So a melodic interval is simply when the two notes are played one after another, or they're not played at the same time, I should say. Now, if you look on page 64, at the beginning, they give you, there on the first line, as number one line, the notes are played one after another. Those are melodic intervals because they're one after another. They second, and then a third, and a second. See, there's actually, they're not pointing out all the intervals because this to this is a second, but then when you go from here to here, that's a second also. They're not pointing that out. And the third is here, but then go on, that's a third also. So second, third, these are melodic intervals. Just keep in the back of your head later on. It'll come in handy. Then the second line at the bottom of page 66, they're talking about harmonic, and that's where they're together. So these notes, the second, sounds wonderful, don't it? Yep. And a third. That's it. That's your interval. That's all they're talking about there, and that's why I didn't put a special video out on, because it's about all I have to say up for it now. You know, if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask me. I know there's all kinds of YouTube videos available that talk about music theory and this stuff, and you're welcome to go watch them all. I encourage you. Yeah, you may not understand why you need to know it, but just kind of know it and keep it in the back of your head for now. We just want to present things a little bit at a time. We don't want to throw everything at you all at once. I think that's a bad idea. Some teachers will do that, but I disagree with that approach. Now, on page 68 on this piece that they're giving us, they're introducing a new symbol. It's called a quarter rest. Looks like a squiggly thing. Some people say it's a bird diving down. It's because you got the bird wings, and you got to have an imagination in music. It really helps. However you want to remember it, but that's not what a quarter rest always looked like. But I'll get into that later. Right now, this is a quarter rest. That's what pretty much all the current publishers are using as a quarter rest. It's the same thing as a quarter note, except you have to be silent. And my term I use is you play the rest. And you play a rest by being quiet. They give an example up there where you can tap and clap and have all kinds of fun. I like to use the music. So if we look at the first line on here, in the second measure, you have a half note E, and a quarter note C, and then they quarter rest. So in other words, on beat 4, we're going to be quiet. So if I play that measure, it's here. 1, 2, 3, 4. On beat 4, I lift up. Beat 3 ends when beat 4 begins. That's one beat to the another. So a beat, I lift up on beat 4 because that's the end of beat 3 is what I'm getting at. A lot of people don't understand that, and I'll get into it more later on. In fact, I can explain to you a little bit why I keep saying off. When we do the play with me at the end, I say off. There's a reason for that, I don't know. So that's really all it is. And then in the second line of this, you'll see the intervals. Seconds, you got an F and a G. And normally the notes would be above each other, but when they're like this on seconds, they have to put them cockeyed because there isn't room. If they tried to put them above each other, they would overlap. And we don't want to do that. That gets messy. But they're connected with the same stem. You still play them at the same time. So it's here. The technique for playing these is similar to what I've been trying to get you to do with the wrist thing before, except now it's more important. You put your hand in the position for the notes you need, in this case the 1 and 2 here, and I'm going to drop the hand down and just let the fingers, I'm almost pulling the notes down actually. It's just, you have to listen very carefully. Try and get them down at the same time. I'm terrible at it, but you work on it, you'll get it. And then in the third measure of the last line, then you have an E and a G. At the same time, I'm just putting my hand in that position and I'm dropping the hand down. And letting these fingers just push the notes down. In the last measure, then the right hand gets to have some fun, and it has a C and an E here. And you'll notice when I figure these chords out, I start at the bottom note on the chord, like the last measure. The bottom note's a C, and the top note is an E. This is how I figure out chords, because you could have 10 notes or more in a chord. So you start with the bottom note, and you figure it out, and you take each note one note at a time in the chord and build it up. And I call that, not just me, everybody, it's called spelling out the chord. You figure out the chord first, and once you have it, then you'll be able to glance at the music, usually, and you'll recognize it. You'll just instantly know what that is. You don't have to worry about trying to read all those notes. You just memorize what that looks like. It's a C and an E, and that's it. You may not use those fingers necessarily, but you know what the notes are. Now, back to this counting thing, briefly. At the end of a piece, I say off. And that's because if I don't, people won't hold it out the full length. For instance, here, the last measure, it's a whole note. It gets 4 counts. And what they'll do is they'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And they'll say, I held it to 4. Well, you didn't hold it for 4 counts because you let up on beat 4. So you only held it 3 counts because beat 3 ends when beat 4 begins. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 4 ends when the next beat begins, except there's no beat. Because at the beginning of the first measure, we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So we have a 1 coming up. It just keeps coming, but at the end of the piece, there's no 1 because we're over. We're done. What do? Well, to represent that 1 that doesn't exist, I say off, and that means that's where you lift it up. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, off, and that means that's so you hold it out the full 4 counts, the full time you're supposed to hold it. So let's try this. Now at the beginning it says brightly. Brightly is a feel. It's not a tempo. It's not a speed. But then music is feel. That's so it's kind of works out. A lot of these pieces will use words that describe happily or brightly or sad or whatever to indicate how fast you go. Well, if you feel that brightly, how fast are you going to go? If you're going to sing this brightly, how fast you're going to go? Because it's going to be different for different people. It's not a set speed. You won't see this in a lot of music. They'll actually give you a speed. And even that is not set. It's a range. It gets messy. We'll get into that later. So brightly, what do you think brightly? Well, to me, it depends on time of day and how much wine I've had. I don't know. It's just a 2, 4, and then etc. When we do the play with me's in the videos, I don't do anything brightly. We just do it really, really slow because we're not trying to perform it. We just want to check the notes and the rhythms to make sure you have those correct. I leave it up to you to speed it up and make it brightly and do all that stuff. Yeah. I encourage you not to rush through this. Stay on this piece until you can play it smoothly, beginning to end. No hesitations, no wrong notes, no glitches, no learn it, get that. You have to have a high enough standard because the music is going to get more difficult, and if you don't apply a high standard now, you're setting yourself up for a really tough time later on. So stick with this page until you get this smoothly and evenly. Don't be in a hurry to go on. So let's try this together slowly, just to check the notes and the rhythms, and we are going to repeat it. So you're still in C position. Looks like we're forte or loud. Okay, that's fine. We can do that. Whatever that is. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 2, 4, 2, 2, 3, repeat. 2, 2, 3, rest. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, rest. 2, 2, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, off. There's a duet at the bottom of this. I'd like to play that with you. So you go ahead and play what we just played, and we are going to repeat it. And I'll play the duet part at the bottom. However, I need you to go up an octave again. You know the drill. Just pretend middle C goes up to an octave, and you put everything up here. Play it up here. Both times, because we're going to repeat. Yeah, both times it's right there. So, here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Repeat.